What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully, you guys having a good day so far. It's pretty early for me right now. It's about 3 a.m. Bright and early and in front to get ahead on this Harmonious Path event. So, Harmonious Path event, this is the event for Talenna's 5-star soul. And yeah, if you guys got Talenna from her most recent deck of fate, you guys probably want her 5-star soul because it's going to be really impactful for her, picking up that extra accuracy. It's a pretty big commitment for this champion, and I think she's a pretty good one. If you guys haven't checked out my showcase for her, make sure you guys check her out. We do have also a void event happening right now. It is a 2x void, so it's the boosted rates on void shards right now. Going on, we have 1% chance at legendary, 16% chance at epic. This is probably the big stat here, 16% chance at the void epics. And for the next 2 days, we have a 10x boost also on the event dungeon champion Rhea. Rhea is a very, very nice champion. She's kind of like Marius-ish, self buffs, triple hit, AoE. Not many champions can do this. She also has this really crazy passive that enables her to not require accuracy, which makes her absolutely nuts. Also, it prevents her from dying ever. She can smack, she can remove material, she can remove all your buffs, and then she can just generally be a huge threat on the field. Would say she's a pretty nice void champion. She does have a 10x boost here in this event. 10x boost means that there's 10 copies of her in the pool of all the void legendaries that you can pull. There's about 100 of them, so that means you have roughly a 10% chance of pulling her if you pull a void legendary, which is 1% chance. The odds are still pretty slim, but they're still better than usual. Now let's talk more about this Harmonious Path event. So in this event, there's a little bit of a curveball that we talked about in the preview video. And that is, instead of just getting credit for usual shard quality, this is actually going to be champion chase style rules, which is basically getting points awarded for the quality of champion that gets pulled. Now, the flip side of this is that you can actually pull champions from anywhere. So it's not necessarily from a shard only. So it does give you some flexibility in that regards if you guys have things saved up. Now, there's also a secondary component to this. So this is just not a normal champion chase. There is a get artifact and accessory component. So you can spend energy in dungeons to get gear. And you get some point credit for that. Now stick around for this video because I do have a calculator created for you guys to use so you guys can map out exactly what you guys have in terms of total points so that you guys don't complete or try to complete this hero's path without knowing your full point potential. You definitely need to plan these things out. You don't want to just jump into it and hope and pray that you get the amount of points. Otherwise, that's just a waste of events if you don't hit your total points needed for whatever reward you want. So like I said, from any source, guys, these can be pulls from the fragments. These can be pulls from remnants. These can be pulls from prisms. So anywhere, which can be a good or bad thing. However, in this style or this rules of champion chase, pulling the bigger shards is probably slightly less efficient. So for example, I have 80 sacred shards or 79 sacred shards. I don't really want to use sacred shards in this event because they just generally are not as efficient as using smaller shards and trying to get lucky. So that differs from chase versus summon rush. You can also pull, like I said, from anywhere. You can pull fragments. Fragments are a big thing because, for example, Annexia, I've managed to save Annexia here. And I think this is going to be the event where I end up pulling her because you get that fat, juicy 20,000 point credit for getting her. And that's going to be a huge, huge help just racking up points towards your targets. Also, anything else you can pull. I probably will pull Talenna and I will pull Folan. Maybe. It really depends on how many points we really need for this entire path. But those are some options that you guys have. Also remnants and all that stuff. So going down the path here, there's also going to be deflection accessories. These are specific to high elves. It's kind of good, especially if you want to gear out your Talenna in deflection gear. 6 pieces of deflection is the target because that allows her to basically remove material stacks by landing debuffs. She lands 2 poisons on her A2. That's going to allow her to remove 2 material stacks just with those poisons alone. There's also going to be 400 Titan points here. It's kind of split up nicely. We got 250s here, and then we got three 100s. We also will need a key if you want to go down the middle path to pick up the soul. So there is some planning necessary here. So I'm going to break this down in a couple paths, different paths, and then we'll check the point totals and what we need to hit to get our reward. All right, guys. So here we go. Let's first talk about just going for the 5-star. So let's say you're not going for the time points at all. What is the most efficient route just to get the 5-star soul? So first of all, the 5-star soul is blocked by this key in the middle. So we do have to go down to get a key. I'm going to choose the right-hand side for this path just because the core hammers are nice, because the core hammers, you're going to need those for crafting deflection gear or swift parry gear. Those have shot up in value. So we're going to go down the right-hand side here, pick up the key, and we're going to hug the right-hand side. And then we're going to grab the first key here, like so. And then we are going to go straight down the middle. We have to actually get that middle silver, which is super annoying. Unlock it, go straight down the 100 points there. And then now we have a choice of accessory. Obviously, if you're going to go for ring, amulet, banner, the banner is probably the most risky, because if the banner doesn't roll speed, it's probably going to be pretty bad. The ring is going to be the least risky because you can pretty much use all three of the main stats. The amulet, 50% of the amulet rolls, defense or HP, are going to be fine. Crit damage is probably fine. Attack is less good, but you can probably use an ore on it just to fix it. But for sure, the banner is probably the most risky. You don't need a 9-piece set for deflection, so it's not super crazy that you get a really, really good banner. So kind of up to you which one you guys want to pick in terms of which one you want to risk. Let's say you pick the ring just to be safe, right? And then you're going to go down and scoop up the 5-star soul. Let's tally this all up. And there we go. We got the 5-star soul, 5-star, and that is going to cost you 80,750 points. So that's going to be the cheapest route. You do pick up 200 Titan points along the way. Now, what's the next most likely path that people will be going for? So for example, if you wanted to skip Talenna's 5-star soul, let's say you're not interested, but you're still doing the Titan event for Folan's 5-star soul. If you completed every single event, all the points up until this stage, and you wanted to do the minimum in this hero's path, to still get Folan's 5-star soul, keep in mind you can only skip 250 points for the Folan Titan 5-star soul throughout the entire Titan event. So if you never skipped a single point up until this point during this hero's path, you can skip 250 of these 400 Titan points in this path. So for 150 Titan points, I would just hug the right-hand side. So picking up this green part here on the right-hand side, and then just picking up this little node here of 50. So you'll pick up 150, and that's going to cost you 22,500 points. Now, what happens if you need all 400 Titan points? Now it gets a little bit hairier. You're going to have to go down the right-hand side. So collect this green route all the way down to the key, because you'll need a key to go down the middle route just to get this 100 node here. You're also going to pick up the 50 node here on the right-hand side. You're going to replicate this by going down the left-hand side and then picking up the 50 node here, and then going down and picking up this 100 node, and that's going to pick up all 400 of the Titan points. All right, if you want all 400 Titan points, it's going to cost you 52,000. So you're going to replicate the left hand, the right hand side, and then you're going to pick up the 250 nodes in the middle, and then the 100 node down this singular little route here after you unlock it with the key. I did make a small mistake here on the 150 Titan points, so it's going to be 21,500 instead of 22,500. The next path would be getting all 400 Titan points and going for the 5-star Talenna soul. You're going to add 54,000 more points to the previous total, which brings your total up to 106,000 points. It's honestly not that much more than just going for the 5-star soul. So as you can see here, going just for the 5-star soul, you actually accumulate 200 Titan points without really going out of your way. And then the last reward here that's kind of interesting is this 30,000 point here for the Kraken 100 mythical relics. Obviously, this has a significant value. Getting 100 mythical relics is not particularly easy. For example, it takes like a month of grinding live arena. It takes you having max trials for your chimera runs for at least 2 weeks if you can get maxed out mythical runs. So not easy. And again, if you want this, it's going to be an extra 30,000 points to tack on at some point. All right, now that we charted some of these path costs, I can show you guys the calculator now and show you guys exactly how we're going to be able to know how many points we have before jumping into this. Like I said, the planning part of this is actually really, really important so that you guys don't jump in not knowing what you guys are getting yourselves into and then wasting resources. All right, so let's jump into this. All right, guys, so I put this spreadsheet calculator together. You guys can use it. I'll leave a link in the description below. Make sure you guys make a copy of it. But basically, it shows you guys the values of each of the shards that we have available to us. So what I used, you guys can check out the math on it later or back, check my math for me, obviously. But what I use is basically the point totals of all of these different scenarios, different champions that we can get from the shards, and then basically put the mathematical odds of getting them. And then we got the total amount of points per shard broken down here for you guys. Each shard is worth these amount of points. So for example, one mystery shard is going to be worth on average, this is an average, right? Average expected outcome, a average of 2.66 points per mystery shard. So if you have 1,000 of these mystery shards, we do have a running total of how many points you have. So input in these black boxes how many shards you have. So for example, if I have 1,000 mystery shards, that's going to give us a total of 2,662 points on average, right? Because obviously you can get lucky, you can get unlucky, you don't know the exact amount of points you're going to get from each of these shards. That's going to be how you guys are going to be inputting into this calculator. Just input into these black bolded bordered boxes, and then it's going to spit out the total points for you guys. Okay, so you can kind of see here the void shard here is worth 744 points. It's significantly higher than the ancient. It's about 3 times higher than the ancient. And then it's actually higher than the primal shard here. You can see the sacred shards. Each sacred shard is worth 2,330 points. Again, this is average outcome. It could even be worse. It could be better. It could be worse, right? We don't know. So if you break that down, each sacred shard is worth about 3 void shards. All right, guys? Now, I want to stress how bad sacred shards are for this event. So usually for Hero's Path, sacred shard is worth 4,500 points and a void shard is worth 750 points. That's the equivalent of 6 void shards per sacred shard. In this event, 1 sacred shard is worth 3 void shards. So you're literally doubling the efficiency of how strong void shards are in this event relative to other Hero Path event. So I just wanted to stress how bad sacred shards are in this event relative to void shards. Ancient shards here, also notice that 10 ancient shards is worth 1 sacred shard. Again, this is a ridiculously strong ratio for ancient shards. You want to use the smallest, lowest value shard possible for this type of event since it has the champion chase rules. Now, the other thing that is important here is, like I said, there is a energy component. You can get gear and that's going to give you some credit towards this Hero's Path. How much points are you going to get per dungeon run? So usually on average for hard 10, I'm just going to use hard 10 here as an end game farming level. We do have a Fire Knight tournament happening right now, so throwing in some energy in there to get some gear is not going to be a bad thing. You're expecting about 1.5 points per energy. Excuse me, 1.7 points per energy. Okay, guys? And if you want to do dungeon 20, you're going to get about 10% better efficiency. So I would say 1.85. Again, this is a rough approximation, 1.85 points per energy. Now the cheat or the hack or whatever for this is that the event dungeon level 3 is still going to be very, very strong for this style of event. I did the math here, and the event dungeon level 3 is going to give you slightly better than 2.5 points per energy. So you can kind of see that the event dungeon level 3 is actually pretty significantly better than the other dungeons. Again, check my math on all that stuff. But basically, the best thing about dungeon level 3 on the event dungeon is that it doesn't drop any brews or anything like that. So if you wanted to strictly save as much energy or be as energy efficient as possible, you would be doing stage 3 of the event dungeon to get the maximum amount of points. So like I said, guys, just plug in into these black borders, and then we have the point totals here for each of the paths that I highlighted here on this image on the right hand side. So for example, let's say I have 100,000 mystery shards. Let's say I have 100 ancient shards. And let's say that I have, I don't know, 20 void shards. So this is how much points I have. I have 42,000 points. Let's say I wanted the 5-star soul. I need 80,000 points. All right, guys. And then let's say I put, I don't know, 10,000 energy into hard 10. You see my point total goes up to 58,000. Okay, I'm out of resources. Let's say I'm not going to do hard 10. Let's say I'm going to do dungeon level 3. Keep in mind, all the gear is going to be trash. Basically, so by switching from hard 10 to stage 3 of the dungeon event dungeon, I gained, almost 10,000 extra points. So it gets me a little bit closer to the 80,000 that I'm looking for. Keep in mind that this event is going to be a 3-day event. So you have opportunity to get, other rewards, use other resources throughout that time. But you guys get the idea on how to use this calculator. Like I said, double check my math and all that stuff, but I'm pretty certain it's pretty accurate. Now, the other easier way to do this event obviously would be summoning champions from your fragment portal. So for example, if you have Anaxia is going to come out and it's going to be worth 20,000 points. That's going to be pretty significant. So that's going to save you a bunch of shards. It's going to save you a bunch of energy. And then just for interest's sake, I did just fill in how many voids you're going to need for each one of these paths. For the 5-star soul alone, you're going to need about 108 of these void shards. It's a pretty big ask. But if you broke it down into what previous heroes path in the summon rush style, in terms of overall cost, usually souls cost between 15 and 20 sacred shards worth. If we extrapolate that by saying, let's say the soul cost 15 sacred shards, right? And we know that one sacred shard is worth 6 void shards. If it cost 15 sacred shards with, and then you broke it down into how many void shards that's going to cost you, you multiply that by 6, so 90. So a 15 sacred shard soul would cost you about 90. So in this case, this Talenna 5-star soul is worth approximately, if you divide everything by 6, it's going to cost you 18 sacred shards equivalent, right? So this hero's path, it's in line with what they've done in the past. Obviously, in a champion chase style, it could benefit or hurt you depending on what kind of shard resources you have. Obviously, for me, I'd rather spend 18 sacred shard than 108 void shards, which I don't have. I only have 56 for the 5-star soul. But in terms of a equivalence, this Talenna 5-star soul is the equivalent of a 18 sacred shard kind of event in normal heroes paths that we see all the time with the normal summon rush rules. It's a little bit on the expensive side, but there is some flexibility with having it champion chase style. Like I said, I'm going to alleviate some of my points by pulling champions from the fragment collector. So it's not going to be as heavy in terms of overall spending for the shards. I'm probably going to spend some of the smaller shards also, just because you do get some good value out of it. There is going to be a training event later on also. Unfortunately, I do need to spend a little bit extra to get 300 total Titan points from this event, because I've skipped 150 Titan points already. So I can only skip 100 more. So which means I need to get 300 points from this event. And of course, I want the 5-star. So I'm probably going to get the deflection pieces because I have no high elves deflection pieces. And I don't grind for platinum because the time schedule just doesn't work for me at all. It's like Sunday lunchtime or something. It's like, yeah, that's like impossible. But for sure, the void shards are going to go in, and I'm going to put them in earlier during this event because I will be going away for the next couple of nights. I'm actually going camping, so I have no cell phone service. I can't play raid at all. So I need to get most of this done today. So keep a lookout for that void shard pull video coming soon. I'll leave a link to the spreadsheet for you guys, spreadsheet calculator. Make sure you guys make a copy of it so that you guys can input your own numbers and stuff. And of course, make sure you guys double check my math. I'm not perfect. It's 3 a.m. when I made this calculator, but I did my best to double check some of these and it looks pretty good. I just went ahead and added remnants. Also, you can kind of see here remnants. Each one is worth 2,600 points on average. It's actually a pretty good deal, or good amount of points. Actually, not a good deal, but a good amount of points coming from that. Just because obviously you have a very high chance of getting an epic. The epic voids and the regular epics are still worth a good chunk of points. So it might be a good time just to pull your remnants if you need some help getting some additional points. Anyways, like I said, guys, I'm going to leave a link to the calculator in the description below. If this was helpful for you guys, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button for future content. It really helps me out and just shows you guys. Actually, it shows me that you guys really like the content and the work that goes into these videos. Let me know if I made any mistakes along the way. Have a great rest of your weekend. There'll still be content flowing in through the weekend, even though I'm away. Make sure you guys check out the showcase videos I have on Talenna and Rhea if you guys are interested in those champions, or if you pulled them this weekend, congratulations. Best of luck on your pulls, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Appreciate you all. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.